The Samsung Galaxy S5 was supposed to be a big deal, but sadly its launch wasn't exactly what Samsung had anticipated. You can say that for the whole year actually. 2014 just wasn't as good of a year for Samsung as they wanted. But let's take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S5 and see how relevant or irrelevant it's become in just 1 year's time. The Samsung Galaxy S5 had a design that resembled the Galaxy S4 and the S3. The main differences lied in the display size, materials used on the back, and also the new water resistance rating. On the front, we had a 5.1-inch Super AMOLED display for resolution of 1920 by 1080, a beautiful display even to this day. But the design didn't live up to any of its standards of the hardware. It still featured the same plastic chrome sides we've seen on previous S models, and new for the Galaxy S5 was this dimpled back that we've never seen before. It reminded us a lot of a golf ball, only more soft. One positive thing that came out of the new materials was the IP67 rating. Thanks to the flap on the micro USB port, the S5 could withstand dunks in the sink and spills of water with no problem. A pretty useful feature, to be honest. Now moving into the hardware, the Galaxy S5 was a flagship, and that means the best of 2014 hardware. It was packed with a 2.5 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 805 chip, 2 GB of RAM, and the Adreno 330 GPU, and also a 16 megapixel camera. Another addition to the hardware was the heart rate sensor right next to the camera and flash module. While clever, it was often referred to as a gimmick feature. Heart rate sensors did take off on wearables where they make much more sense. And the last piece of new hardware on the Galaxy S5 was the fingerprint sensor on the home button. Not Samsung's finest attempt, since it needed the user to swipe instead of place their finger, and throughout my experiences it worked maybe 40% of the time. Plus you'd think Samsung would improve this technology on devices like the Galaxy Note 4, but that problem still persists there as well. Next will be the software on the Galaxy S5, and for the software itself, it was questionable at launch. Right before the S5 debuted, there were rumors about Samsung and Google becoming really good friends, and we were hoping for a lightened version of TouchWiz, but what we got was Android KitKat with the same old TouchWiz with a few updates to make life more difficult. The skin was and still is a very heavy skin. Going through home screens is fine, but you'll start getting a little frustrated through TouchWiz's menus. For example, why do I need to press more than 4 buttons to get into my settings? Why are there menus, submenus, and submenus to those submenus? It just seems all a bit too excessive. And for those who are still awaiting Android 5.0 Lollipop to arrive, don't hold your breath, because TouchWiz looks to be just as efficient as it is now running on Android KitKat. Now performance-wise, at launch it was one of the quickest devices around. I mean, flagship specs usually deliver good performance, and Samsung knows how to give you that. But with devices like the HTC One M8 running a light version of Sense and almost the same hardware, it was quickly overshadowed. But I think the biggest strike against the Samsung Galaxy S5 was definitely the OnePlus One. For those tech people out there, even if they didn't get their hands on that device, they knew it was one special device, and it definitely helped to know that it costed half as much as the Galaxy S5 with all the same hardware. But one redeeming feature of the Galaxy S5 was definitely the camera. Samsung had definitely dialed down the camera technology with the Galaxy S5. It was honestly the first Samsung device that just wowed me with its camera. It delivered pretty good looking 16 megapixel photos, but its 4K video was untouchable at the time. The camera tech later evolved into the Galaxy Note 4 with the addition of OIS, but to this day, the Galaxy S5 and the Note 4 have one of the best mobile phone cameras, especially for recording UHD video. And that sort of sums up the Galaxy S5. It was a phone that launched with a huge amount of PR and positive reviews, but it was sadly overshadowed mere weeks after it debuted with phones like the HTC One M8 and the biggest impact to the mobile space in 2014, which was the OnePlus One. It sold okay, many millions of handsets were moved worldwide. They even made a faster and more high-resolution display version in Korea called the Galaxy S5 LTEA, but it never made it to US shores. But if you're looking at the Galaxy S5 as a less expensive alternative to a flagship in 2015, I would suggest you wait. It may be more expensive, but the upcoming Galaxy S6 looks more promising from the hardware standpoint. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave your comments below, and as always, my name is Marco Hanna, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.